What screams, I'm not feeling good mentally at all? Story 1. Usually for me, it's difficulty processing what people are saying and having trouble starting sentences. It's about to happen tomorrow morning considering it's Monday tomorrow. Story 2. Sleeping like 22 hours a day. Getting up only to not wet the bed. And sometimes you don't even sleep, you just out the covers over your head to block out as much light as possible and stare off into the distance. Your mind not really forming any coherent train of thoughts until finally sleep brings release. If you're lucky, a dream of a time when you weren't in pain. A dream far away from reality, but you aren't lucky. You awake and the sun is setting now, another day gone. Whether you got up or didn't doesn't matter at all. Story 3. Headache, stomachache, loss of appetite / overeating, extreme weight loss / gain, loss of previous interests, withdrawn more than usual or even more energy than usual. The last point can often be overlooked. You might think they're having a great day week, but in reality it's way worse. They just have to work harder to hide it all, so people do not try to worry. Check in with friends, family. There are so many out there that are not okay. Story 4. Long time ago, I told my doc, I'm not looking to jump in front of a bus, but if a bus was coming, I don't know if I would jump out of the way. Pretty significant health issues, now under control, but 6 months of antidepressants did make a difference. In a much better place mentally now. Story 5. Whatever I've been doing the past week, laid off my job off 13 years last week with a house and family off 5. It's a struggle to do anything, especially convince my family it's going to be okay. I haven't applied online before or filed for unemployment. It's too much new with so much relying on me. Terrifying. Edit. Thanks, y'all. Good to know I'm not alone in this situation. I wrote this post last night and was surprised to get a call this morning for an interview. Hearing from y'all, and that call gives me some hope. Thanks. Story 6. Pushing myself, even though my limits are getting lesser, and then a cycle of trying to keep up or make up things I have fallen behind on, and getting trapped in a cycle of falling short. Typically, when that happens, I have to just stop and take time off. So the key for me is finding out when that is starting and pull way back off the throttle. Story 7. A personal warning sign that I'm not doing well mentally is that I just completely dissociate. I've had people tell me how laid back and easygoing I am, but it's just, I literally don't have it in me to care anymore, so it's just easier to go with it. No laughing, crying, getting angry, etc. It's just whatever. I'm in therapy and learning new coping mechanisms, but some days are harder than others. Story 8. Sleeping all day, if not daydreaming, if not zoning out, if not a lot of expression. And chores aren't done and you lose interest even in doing your hobbies. And that's just depression. Look up the DSM-4 or whatever is current, has tons of traits and thoughts that afflict your mind. Story 9. My sister went through some serious shit a few years ago. From an outside perspective, the signs were shocking weight loss, filthy house, not reaching out, zombie eyes. Alcoholism fueled by an emotionally abusive and toxic marriage coupled with severe untreated anxiety. She's 2.5 years sober and so proud. Story 10. Signs that someone might not be feeling good mentally can vary, but common indicators include a noticeable change in behavior or mood, such as increased irritability, withdrawal from social activities, or a lack of interest in things they used to enjoy. They might also exhibit changes in sleep patterns, appetite, or energy levels. If you notice these signs in someone, it's important to approach them with empathy and offer support, whether it's simply being there to listen or encouraging them to seek professional help if needed. Sometimes just acknowledging their struggles and offering a compassionate ear can make a big difference. Story 11. Zoning out excessively, lack of interest / motivation / energy, extreme mood swings, personality changes, being unable to be happy, wanting to shut, major sleep issues, too much or too little, etc. Major and sudden diet changes, etc. Basically just complete lack of life balance and focus. Story 12. I can't motivate myself to do simple things around the house that I actually never mind doing when I'm feeling okay. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to participate in any activities. I just want time to stand still. Story 13. Anybody can get a little jealous of others, but the toxic envy in some people is really at a different level. People who get upset at other people's success, especially if the person who succeeded has struggled earlier in life, is often mentally unwell themselves in my experience. Story 14. Me all the time, the ex-hubs left me. Then kids stepped away from me. Then my furry best friend died, Tuesday the 31st. I feel totally lonely. Possibility that I may have cancer of some sort due to test results. Degenerative or brain disorder as well. So great I'm gonna loose my Mabels one day alone. Story 15. Asking friends for advice at like midnight. I want solutions. And they are not professionals. I regret it every time. They end up blindsided, and I end up feeling bad for bothering them. I stay quiet now and try to find the professionals. It costs a lot or is hard to get even with free healthcare, but it's worth it. I feel bad about bothering my friends with bullcrap they don't deserve. Story 16. Low frustration tolerance example. Something that would normally be considered a mild inconvenience or mildly annoying makes you big mad, like out of proportion mad. Having no feelings at all, feeling entirely and utterly alone, like you are a burden on anything and everything around you. If you're in the US, you should know your area probably has a local mental health authority and that they will serve you regardless of your ability to pay. They are funded by your taxes and also usually have other types of social services too. Also 988 is the US and Canada too, I think. Crisis line. Story 17. A struggle to get out of bed despite not staying up late and constantly trying to push oneself back to sleep because the dreams are better than the real life, even when they suck, because at least they have the merit of being interesting and unexpected. Story 18. Getting up every morning wishing you were somewhere else, knowing your job is a grind and nothing more, wishing you had the freedom to travel and see places you've always wanted to, but you can't because you're a prisoner to your routine and your employer. Getting called and paged constantly while trying to sleep, so now you hear ghost buzzing from your phone because Teams buzzes constantly. If you try and set boundaries, you're hanging by a thread with your employer. The thing you desire most but aren't brave enough to do is just pack a suitcase, blow off work, and drive away and go see the things you want to and come back when you feel like it. But you know you'll never be able to do that without serious consequences, so that's denied to you. So slowly but surely, it starts to eat away at you. The conflict between wanting to just leave and being responsible in a mundane and repetitive job routine where your employer expects hyper-detailed timesheets of every hour of your day, expects you to be on call every day, including weekends, and essentially owns you and your time lest you be fired. All you want is to be left alone, to have freedom to come and go as you please and see what you want wherever you want, to make your own work schedule and get paid well for it. To grow into someone useful who is loved by others and is part of something they can look back on proudly and say, I lived a good life. Story 19. For me, it's paradoxical laughter. Everything just gets so overwhelming and hopeless that I just start laughing. Like it's the funniest thing in the world that my life is falling apart. Usually it's laughter with tears at the same time. Maybe it's a form of disassociation combined with Schadenfreude, in that if I disassociate, it's not me I'm laughing at, it's some other dumb schmuck. Or maybe laughter releases tension when I'm overwhelmed and too tense to function. I think I may never know. I haven't had a fit like that in 2 years when I came out to myself. Story 20. 2 ER trips with no care, just referral. Reaching out to a doctor multiple times this last few weeks. I actually have super healthcare insurance. Hash one problem? They don't give a, yep, figure it out. It's so bad my counselor will net see me without an avail, but it's been over a year just trying to get one. Story 21. As someone with ADHD who normally has unfiltered, loud vocal interactions with people I am comfortable with, and I suddenly turn inward and become silent most of the time. That is usually when my family worries about my mental state. I went through a lot of emotional trauma as a teen, and when life becomes overwhelming and I end up on dark paths, I turn inward. I become quiet, self-isolate more, and calm my demons of despair I've been fighting my whole life. Story 22. Brushing my teeth. I don't know what it is, but this is my sure sign that I'm going through a little depression slump. It's such a simple task that takes little effort, and instead of doing it, I just spend all day thinking about doing it and then not getting the motivation to do it. Story 23. Sleeping way too long. I got severely depressed for a bit during high school. I would go to school, come back, and go to bed from the moment I got home until the morning. It got so bad that I eventually started to skip school just to sleep all day, 14 plus hours a day sleeping. I know why I did it, and I could understand why other people do it too. It's an escape from reality, shutting your brain down and forgetting everything. Then you wake up, and for those few moments, you're happy. Then you finally remember who you are and what your life is about. So you shut down again and fall back asleep. Story 24. I'm somewhat a hygiene freak. When I go days without brushing my teeth or showering, kind of give it away. I found myself telling my fiance, we live separate, okay, I'm gonna go shower, and sitting on my phone for like half an hour and then texting him, okay, I'm out, just so he won't think anything. Story 25. I think when a person has no time at all, namely when a person tries to fully load their schedule from early morning until late at night. In this way, a person wants to distract themselves from their negative thoughts. From my experience, I want to say that you shouldn't do this because the body is very exhausted, and at some point everything will become even worse. Story 26. When a little thing sends you into a spiral where you realize that everything is meaningless, that you'll never be good enough, everyone you care about will die, and that you're stuck in a horrible cycle that you can't break out of. It could be something as simple as forgetting your lunch or a fictional character death. The spiral starts, and there's no way out of it. Story 27. So, very work-related, but for me, staying awake late at night because you don't want to go to sleep, because you don't want tomorrow to come and having to go to work, or crying/feel the need to cry the moment your alarm goes off in the morning. Story 28 with men. I can tell because they will suddenly go from being kind of sex-only focused to like randomly hitting me up and wanting to make small talk about nothing. Like they just need someone to be nice to them for 5 minutes, especially late at night or at odd hours. Story 29. My last day off, I decided to hop on YouTube to kill some time. After maybe 20 mins, I fell into a shorts rabbit hole and I did not look up from my phone for over 8 hours. 8 fucking hours. And the only reason I was shook out of it is because my phone was dying and I needed to charge it. It's not like I didn't have anything else to do. I had plans to do stuff around the house. I know I'm not exactly doing great, but it's moments like these that make me consider seeking help. This isn't just some accident. I do this multiple times a week. Story 30. When a person suddenly takes an intense obsession with new and existing hobbies, when you know they are going through hard times in a more serious aspect of life. This almost always includes either severe irritation when the serious issue is brought up, or a refusal to recognize it as an issue or its existence. Psychologically, this is them abandoning aspects of their life they're not in control of, in favor of those which they can still control. Example, a person suddenly jumps from playing a video game for 2 hours per day to 18 hours per day after they lost their job or went through a breakup. Story 31. I don't feel like being polite. This is a phrase that basically tells me I've slipped back and need to take my meds to bring my mood back up. That and get out, do stuff, enjoy myself for a bit, get those natural chemicals going. When I find myself not bothering to be polite to people, I know that something's wrong. Story 32. Responding very shortly about themselves with an answer likely to satisfy the other person and quickly turning the convo back on the other person by asking a question about them, aka not wanting to talk about oneself, keeping things surface level. Story 33. Wanting to do something to better yourself like exercise, eating less, etc., and not being able to do it. Like you can mentally scream at yourself to do something, anything, and it just doesn't work. Then it's a feedback loop because you don't do stuff because you don't feel well. Then you feel worse because you haven't done stuff. Story 34. Misspeaking. Struggling to formulate articulated, coherent sentences or to pronounce words wrongly. You can tell you are constantly choosing simpler and simpler words and structures because your brain isn't braining. Also struggling to understand spoken and or written words. Story 35. My business math teacher used to come to school looking like he got dressed under his desk. One morning, I will never forget, he wore 2 different shoes, black dressed shoe and light brown shoe, which also were the wrong sides also. Left foot, right shoe, left foot, half-tucked shirt, bed hair, and like a liquid stain on the neck of his shirt. His excuse for looking like that? I got dressed in the dark this morning and I picked up the wrong shoes and accidentally grabbed a dirty shirt. As a teenager, I just thought, he's a messy person. But as I got older, I believe he went through a bad divorce and he didn't take it so well. I still think about him and wonder what really happened. Story 36. My eyes betray me. No matter how well I dress, how much control I have over my emotions when I go out in public, no matter how well I calculate and perfect every single possible movement and action I take to fit in or seem normal, my eyes will always betray me. One look into my eyes and people truly can see my soul, and there's no hiding the insanity that is beneath the surface appearance. Story 37. My first apartment is waiting for me. Problem fixed after months, and now I can finally move in. My mom and me are like water and oil. Why don't I just go? I did feel super grateful. When I got the news it was going to be rented to me, I cried for like an hour. I said back then I just need an air mattress. Now I finally have a place that is just mine where I can do whatever I want. Leave my stuff wherever, do laundry my own way, lie on the floor in the sun. I want it so bad, but why don't I just go? Story 38, pushing people away. I was in a relationship with a girl who had a lot of things going on at home. She was not happy at all, but she always managed to make it seem like she was. She broke up with me because she had things happening, that she's at the lowest point of her life. I always wondered, if you really were at the lowest point, wouldn't you want someone to be there for you? I've realized how wrong I was. She was worried of not only losing everything at home, and not only her life, but also losing me. She thought if she left first, the pain would lessen. I think she still loves me, but I am getting over her. I think I have to, or else I'll get myself hurt. I know that makes me seem like a monster. but she was going through hell and dragging me through it. I am still there for her, but not as a partner. Story 39. I have days, had mostly, I'm medicated now, where I would be pissed that I woke up. Not because my life was terrible, but because depression is terrible. Those who don't have it will truly never understand how it feels, the intense sadness, and how you feel everything and nothing at the same time. Story 40. Ignoring bodily needs. I'm not just talking about brushing teeth or showering. I'm talking about not eating substantial meals. Standing in the kitchen frozen because the idea of making food or choosing what to eat is so overwhelming, then over binging on easy food. Ignoring how thirsty you are or if you need the toilet, you just become apathetic to it all. Story 41, lack of hygiene, skipping meals, dressed differently than normal, staying in when you usually wouldn't, isolating yourself, not talking, staring off, looking down at the ground, extra tired, missing work. I know my brain is starting to go downhill if I start to skip parts of my daily routine, especially because I'll tell myself it's no big deal in my head as I start to decline. Then I end up looking like my first paragraph. Story 42, starting 4, 5, 6, 7 new TV series in an afternoon, but not being able to commit to even the first full episode of any of them, knowing they are good based on recommendations. Having 3 different art projects sitting in front of me in crates, ready to start but staring at them like it's simply Herculean just to pick up the pencil. Getting up in the morning to feed and potty the dogs and wondering how soon is too soon to lie down for a nap. Lying down for an afternoon nap and only getting back up at 8 p.m. out of necessity. BC dogs gotta eat and go potty. At least with the heat, it's not terribly hard to have a reason to stay inside all day, but still.